Hello everybody, Skyrim here, back again with another Diablo Immortal video. Okay, in this video we are going to be discussing certain stats. Certain stats that are paramount and above all else are the utmost important for every single player, every single class, no matter what you are in this game across the board. Why they are important. Trying to help out, of course, the newer player experience and explain as to why you might be finding yourself being killed so easily in certain parts of the game. I know the story content is one of them, but there are various forms of difficulties that you may find yourself into and seeing yourself getting taken out very easily and again wondering why. And also for the OGs out there, those of us who have been in the game for a very, very long time, yes, a lot of you are going to be well aware of what these are, but also I wanted to shine a little bit of a different light on some these stats as well, because they're highlighted in the Bout of the Realms that we had as of late, and I wanted to touch on that for endgame PvP content as well. So hang along for the ride. I invite all of you, so let's get into it here. Now, let's start with this, of course. Oh, it's a Reddit post. Imagine, yeah, no, seriously. This person was asking, and of course people have responded in kind, and rightfully so, and we're going to get into this. I'm going to break this down, and there is something very interesting at the very outset right here already. If you take a look at this, the secondary stats. Yes, we're talking about secondaries, and the two most important ones across the board for all players is fortitude and willpower. The top tier stats for every single player in the game, regardless of class, is fortitude and willpower. Okay, so we're going to break that down as to why here now for the newer player experience first, and then I will I'm going to go into the further in-depth discussion for PvP and what I saw and observed in Bout of the Realms. The one match that I got to see, actually. I haven't been able to catch the other ones, unfortunately, but I was able to at least catch and make note and record some stats that they had in there for obviously comparison reasons and to see what they were using. Alright, but as you can see here, first and foremost, they need serious help, they say, confused about damage reduction. Alright. Let's see, they are a 1082 in this screenshot, and they say right here, I play on Inferno 7, but apparently even Inferno 6 and Inferno 5 I can die super easily. I can barely take hits. Okay? Don't know if the armor helps or not, so many of my secondary attributes are so low. Well, I looked at this on one of my alts, and I had to make sure of that, and I could show you that in comparison, but we're just going to show, I want to show a difference between their stats and mine on my main, and there is a bit of an interesting part that I've noticed that I never saw before. I never saw this before. It is a text in their secondaries in this image. We'll get into that here shortly. I don't know if armor helps or not. So many of my stats are low, and it's weird. I've seen YouTube videos where others, when they highlight their armor attribute, such as I have in the photo, it says armor reduces all damage. Well, that one right there is a text change that had occurred sometime later, so I'm not entirely sure how old or recent of a video that they may have seen, but yeah, we used to see that, and we don't really see that anymore. They have changed that. So there is that. The mine never says that. No, neither do any of ours anymore. It just says that it only helps block, and my block percentage stat is at 10%. Let's see. Any help I can avoid dying so easily. I don't know what stat matters. So here we go. So I'm going to try and break that down, and of course, people have already chimed in here, which is good. Try increasing your secondary stats. Well, that's a... especially, they say they're a returning player. That's just one of those things that's an overtime thing, as we've come to find out. Secondaries are not so much of an easy catch-up mechanic as most other things in this game. So that's just something that you have to get by, of course, farming normal gems, through daily party activities for your 12 gems, and also for your weekly gems that you need to stay on top of. Those are key above all else, honestly, in this game, especially for free-to-play and low spenders. Actually, everybody, but it is very, very more apparent for those of us at a lower spending level, for a lower resonance level, excuse me, and things of that nature, because we are affected a lot more deeply by it, and that's just how it goes, right? Now, I want to show this one more time real quick with the stat here. The text line here is what I want to highlight, and the armor. The armor here says they're at, okay, compared against enemy armor penetration, their armor is 908 lower than expected at Inferno 7, was what they said they were in. Difficulty, decreasing your damage reduction from blocking by 0% because they are under par. Okay, or under the required value from a base damage of 50%, and increasing enemy critical hit damage by 51%, which is pretty significant. There's where they're getting one shot. Okay, that's exactly it. What is very, very interesting, and which is kind of surprising to hopefully a lot of us, OG players, is that text line itself, because it's not really something that we've recalled ever seeing before. Well, that's because those of us who have been in the game and keeping up on our stats all this time, especially our secondaries, wouldn't really notice that. We wouldn't really ever see this because we, well, quite simply, I'll show you right now, go to secondaries and under armor. It's not there. That's why we won't see it, because if you were above the threshold, you don't get that line of text that says critical hit from enemy mobs. You don't get that at all because you were above the threshold. So I found that very interesting and kind of surprising. I did have to go onto one of my dusted alts and take a look at them. And like I said, I haven't done anything with them in ages, but they do have that line of text there because they are far, far, far behind as far as their secondaries go, just the same. And then some, actually. But they do have that line of text that this person had on that Reddit post, which is increasing enemy critical hit damage, in case in point for armor stat. So I did find that very interesting and very different, and that's what kind of threw me off, but I can completely understand, and that is why that they're getting one shot, more so than anything else. So again, bringing it back around to the two most important stats, fortitude and willpower, any way you can get it, any way, shape, or form, through your remnants, even from raids. You do want to put the remnants on, of course. That will give you additional stats in those areas. All your gear that will provide, of course, fortitude and willpower, any chance, shape, or form that you can get it. And then breaking it down even further, like I said, to your secondary stats, make sure you are getting as many normal gems that you can get your hands on at all times, and rank them up as far as you can. It will be very, very quick early on, which is a good thing. Most of us will start to hit a soft to a hard cap around rank 7, rank 8. For those of us who have been in the game for a long time, that's just what it is. That's just how it always has been and continues to be. Now, like I said, of course, the fastest way to go about doing that, if you want to catch up anyway, is, well, go to the market, try to get your hands on as many normal gems as you can, put your platinum into. But that's up to you. Just as a suggestion for the quick return of it. But however, the slow grind that a lot of us have come to know is weekly gems, your 12 daily gems, things of that nature. That is where you're going to get a lot of the recoup on that. And also, of course, why keys are so important in this game is because of the legacy of the Herodrum, where you will get into a lot of your other stats here for armor penetration bonuses and things that aren't armor, etc., etc. But again, fortitude and willpower is the name of the game here, literally, as far as the stats are concerned. Fortitude hits your armor pen, and potency and willpower potency and resistance is your willpower stat. And as you can see here, again, one more time as a refresh and rehash on this for the PvP aspect of things, this is what the whales focus on the absolute most. Okay, and that is armor and resistance. Okay, now we're getting into endgame territory here, of course, and this is more so for a lot of, you know, veteran players and things of that nature. I wanted to at least highlight this part, and pretty much like a beacon. This is what the vast majority of them are running the highest as far as their overall stats go, because, well, armor is going to give you the highest amount of survivability in the game. There's plenty of things that will provide damage output, and we have so much of that stacking to the moon in that regard. So that is why they have heavily gone deep into armor and resistance. Resistance, of course, is to take the edge off from all whatever crowd control effects at this point are still relevant in the game, to have the least amount of effect on them and be able to shrug that off as quickly as possible. And same with damage over time effects, to shrug those off as quickly as possible too, so that they won't even really have to think about it. The armor part of it is, of course, to stay well above the enemy's armor penetration, because that is what is in comparison here. You are comparing your armor to the enemy's armor penetration whenever you are engaging anybody. That is how that works. That is how that whole process goes. As long as you're within 500 points from the enemy, then you won't it won't hurt you as much. However, once you start to dip below 500 points compared to their opposing stat, then that's where things will start to hurt you significantly a bit more. And that is where, of course, the whales have their distinct advantage when it comes to, you know, everybody, mid spenders and below. That's just how it is. It's just how it always will be. It's a mobile game, pay to win. That's how it goes, right? So, anyway, there is that. I wanted to at least highlight this and explain as to why this is a end-game PvP showcasing here for older, experienced players in the game. And of course, like I said, we've always known that fortitude and willpower are the top utmost stats in the game, but this pretty much highlights that even further. And it has a slightly different take. It has a slightly different take as of late, especially in the Battle of the Realms. It got to highlight this. Like I said, armor and resistance, they went very, very hard in the paint on, very, very deep into both of those stats, opposed to armor penetration and potency, which is honestly interesting. But when I guess they're up against each other in that regard, well, that's, I guess, what they have to try to deal with and combat against. Because, like I said, more than enough things in the game, gems, resonance, all that kind. There's far, far plenty of damage value boosting effects in the game, but not so much damage reduction. And that is another thing that has been brought up, and I was going to save to go into further detail on that at a different time. But there is that. Okay. Again, bringing it back around to the newer player experience here. Hopefully this kind of clears that up a little bit, and hopefully that brings it around to where a point you can understand it a bit better, and as to why you're getting one shot, taking, you know, even if, first and foremost, of course, once you get past the combat rating for the required difficulty threshold, you will now have to take a look at your secondary attributes, which are fueled the most heavily by fortitude and willpower, which I thought I had a piece on me right here just so I could show it, but that was just pure fortitude and willpower. But anyway, you get the idea. Fortitude and willpower is the most value that you're going to get out of everything. Willpower, I didn't go into that as heavily as I did at fortitude, because, well, fortitude is the main stat you really want first, but willpower will actually help you, like I said, against especially the shamans or anybody with fireballs that get lobbed at you, any magic abilities from enemy mobs. They will hurt you a great deal if your willpower and your resistance stat is low and not up to snuff as far as what is required whenever you're going up in difficulties, you have to pay attention to these stats. They cannot be ignored, and this is how you track them, okay? So, anyway, hopefully that helps you out. If you have any questions, of course, always leave them down in the comments below. I will try to answer them as much as I can. If I didn't make everything as crystal clear as possible, I know I do rehash a lot of things and go around in circles sometimes, but I just wanted to make it absolutely clear in all things, and hopefully that clears a lot of things up for newer players especially, and, you know, like I said, for a little bit of a different take as of late for a lot of us older players in the game. The Battle of the Realms has kind of showed various things. We know the metas and the imbalance of essences and various things of that nature. We're going to see how that's going to unfold after this whole thing's over and see what actually gets balance adjusted. But they said they were going to wait until the Battle of the Realms is over, which makes sense, but at the same time it does kind of suck. So that we've been having to deal with it longer than we probably should have this go around of the imbalances in various classes. But anyway, there you go. All right, as always, everybody, stay safe out there in the real world on fire. Take care of yourselves as best you can, one day at a time. It's all we can do. It's the best we can do for sure. Believe me on that. Until next time, see ya.